Namaste. This is Jack Colley's Black Book. We're on episode 61, and the subtitle of this is going to be India Slideshow. So we're going to keep looking at some pictures from India and just talking about Mercy and my experience there. So we left off the last video where I was introducing you to my friend here who sold me shirts. I had gone to India with one shirt, and my goal was going to be to do some clothes shopping over there to bring back some shirts. Because if you look at pictures in India, a lot of the gentlemen in India are wearing, nice collared shirts. And I thought, well, I'm going to go over there and do some shopping. And so when I went into this store, the first thing, of course, I said was, do you have any extra large? And he looked at me and he said, 2X. I said, well, I think an extra large would be good. I mean, I don't remember if I told him this way, but it's like, I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. I'm trying to maintain a healthy weight. So I think an extra large would be good, thinking, in India, the sizes probably run, what would it be, run small with respect to the European sizes or American sizes. And he said 2X, and I said, well, okay. And I tried on a 2X, and more correctly, I couldn't get my second arm through a 2X. So he went back and got a 3X, and same thing, I just couldn't get it to close around my chest. And then eventually I did try a 4X, which was very tight. So I did end up buying some shirts that were size 4X. So in India, my shirt size is XXXX. Who'd have thought? I'd be very curious with my friends who are larger what that might look like if they go to India and need to purchase clothes, because I don't know if there's anything above a 4X. I have never heard of a 4X, but there you go. So let's take a look at some of these pictures here. Here is looking down on the street from the clothier, where I bought the shirts, the quadruple X shirts. You just see the busyness again. And then I had kind of given you a heads up that the next thing we were going to talk about is the next shop we went into. Mercy and I wanted to purchase a couple of table runners for our home. And this particular gentleman was very excited about taking our money, but he was not too excited about being in a picture. And in this particular shop, we experienced some incredibly hard selling, some hard salesmanship. And we narrowed it down to these two table runners. And just to give you an idea of sometimes the pressure some of these shopkeepers can put you under, and this is a minority of shopkeepers. Most shopkeepers were very respectful, and if you said no, they were fine with it. But my goodness, this guy knew how to sell, and it actually worked for him because we actually left with more than just the two table runners. So here are the two table runners that we saw. I saw the green one laying out and thought that would be really cool in my living room, which is painted orange. And then we went. And then as we sat down and picked things out, of course, he's telling us the price, he's telling us how it's made, and then out comes something else. And so for Mercy, it's, would you like to look at this? How about this? Have you considered something for your family at home? And before you knew it, we had left with an outfit for Mercy. So this is the skirt that she purchased. And then, of course, we had to have the top with the skirt. And then not only did we have to have the top with the skirt, but we ended up getting, I don't know what you call it, but kind of like a scarf that went around her head. And I've got some pictures of her trying it on back in the hotel room. And we also left with a shirt for Mercy's boys, a couple of shirts for Mercy's boys. What was kind of... it was kind of frustrating, and at the same time, I was kind of chuckling a little bit. But there was another store owner, I think it was this gentleman's father would be my guess. And when Mercy and I had made our purchases and we started walking down the street with our bags, this other gentleman from the store started following us. And he would kind of try to steer us into other stores. Well, what about this? Would you like something like this? Would you? And he followed us probably 2 or 3 blocks, and trying to encourage us to go into different stores. Would you like to come? I mean, it was a hard sell. And I discovered something. I discovered there was a couple of different ways that I could do and be halfway respectful, but firm in saying, look, you got to leave us alone. You got to let us do our thing. So in this gentleman's case, what I did is I eventually stopped. Me and Mercy just stopped because he was behind us just talking. What about this? Do you want to buy this? And eventually I just said, why don't you go ahead of us? And that seemed to work great. I think it kind of caught him off guard. He's like, what? So he walked ahead of us, and then, we could be at peace for a little bit. And then the other thing is I did learn that sometimes I had to be really forthright. So I would say, no, thank you, we're not interested. No, thank you, we're not interested. And I kind of had to start applying the rule that I tell my clients, which is, look, if you say the same thing 3 times in a row and you're just not being heard, it's okay to be a little more forthright. I mean, a little more to the point. So in another case, I did have to say, no, thank you, you need to stop. And that worked fine. And that only happened a couple of times. Like I said, for the most part, Mercy and I were there. We were learning how to interact with the people. It was wonderful to interact with the people. It was just interesting that every once in a while we would have this kind of an experience where it was like, you felt like unless you were just flat out being rude, you just could not leave the shop. And so we had a couple instances, and we learned how to handle that better. So here's one of the shops that we really enjoyed. It was owned by a couple older gentlemen, and they sold different avatars of God. And of course, the last name Kali is the Hindu goddess Kali, who I am very fond of, and knowing her has helped me bring a little bit more of a balance to the Christianity I was raised with. Same thing with Hinduism. I mean, it just helped me understand why evil exists, why you don't always have these wonderful good days. So Hinduism has really helped me experience life, I think, in a more healthy way, in a more healthy and balanced way. And again, not that I call myself a Hindu, but at the same time, not that I'm out always calling myself a Christian either, because people will jump to all sorts of conclusions with that label too, particularly in this season that we're in, politically and nationally. Oh my goodness, I may have said just a little too much there. But anyway, so here are just some little statues that I wanted to bring home. And I did end up bringing purchasing the Kali statue, and it's in my living room overlooking my piano next to my Buddha statue. So I really like that image. On the way back to the hotel, and remember, now we are not staying at the bed and breakfast in the mom and pop hotels that I really wanted to stay at, but the last one just didn't work out. So we ended up getting a room at the Jaipur Marriott. And interesting, when you drive back on this stretch of road, there is, there's the India chaos of the broken down buildings and the traffic, and all of a sudden you get to this stretch of highway. And to the left of this stretch of highway are these, I think, 4 or 5 huge, beautiful blue buildings. I mean, something that you would see in Dubai, or you would see in a really nice area of a city like New York. Just these beautiful buildings. And I said, what's that? And the driver said that this is what did they call it? Not the World Trade Center. I think I'm thinking a little bit of New York, but the World Trade Park or something like that. And when I looked it up, this is what you're seeing a ginormous indoor shopping mall. So if you took Rivertown Crossings and Woodland Mall and stacked about 4 or 5 of them on top of each other, and then had 3 or 4 of them in line, you would get the idea of what this huge complex is. It's an indoor mall, and Mercy and I would go into it later. Initially, we were kind of like, we didn't come all of this way to hang out in an indoor mall, because when we were looking at it online, there was, the typical pretzel stores. There was a, what is it, a Popeye's chicken, a McDonald's, and we just thought, the World Trade Park, there we go, that's what it was called. And we just thought, we didn't come all this way to hang out at a mall. I mean, but anyway, we wanted to take some pictures of just this really incredibly beautiful building that was actually an indoor mall. And if you look to the right in this picture, you can see what this is surrounded by. And I keep kind of saying the same thing, which is this is India. It's like you have this chaos, and you have these areas, that are almost would be considered, I mean, certainly dilapidated and rundown buildings, almost in a sense like very ghetto-like. And then all of a sudden, right in the middle, you have like somebody decided, I'm going to build this ginormous mall that has over 500 stores if you look it up indoors. And it is just like really, really, really interesting. So here is, here's Mercy trying on her skirt that we bought from the very pushy salesman. And she has the top on, and she has the kind of the scarf. So you can see what she purchased. She's very excited about this because the next time we visit the Grand Rapids Hindu temple, she has something to wear. I ended up buying kind of one of these Indian coats too. They're the same coats that you see the Beatles wearing in some of the older pictures when they were kind of into Eastern music and brought in some of these interesting instruments into the Beatles music. But I told Mercy, I said, well, I got to be a little careful of that because, as a professor, I know what cultural appropriation is, and even though that's not what I'm doing, there is something to be said about somebody being cautious about dressing like another culture when you're not of that culture. So that's something I want to be sensitive to. So I have one. I'm not sure that I will be wearing it in public, and I'm not even sure the appropriateness of wearing it to the Hindu temple the next time Mercy and I go. But this is outside of our window, and I already talked a little bit about this in the previous video. So I'm going to kind of skip through here. Here's Mercy in front of the Christmas tree. I've had several pictures of this. Now, I'm not sure if this is the same thing, but this is like a milk. I think it's like a milk that is boiled for a long period of time with a bunch of sugar. And it's very good. You can purchase it on the street. I believe I have some, I'm pretty sure I've shown some pictures of street vendors cooking this in a large pot. Just milk and sugar. So it's this very hot, sweet drink. It's really good. And here's the restaurant we ate at the Jaipur Marriott. Completely different. Now there's the one shirt that I brought from the States that I'm wearing right there. So that's the shirt that fits. And of course, I now have a couple other shirts, but I was unable to find shirts that fit in India. And some of the foods. This is an appetizer. A lot of the restaurants we went to had some live music, some live entertainment, which was always cool to have in the background. You can kind of see our table. So we ordered like a bread sampler, which is really good. And this restaurant was kind of cool because you could look behind the glass and you could see the tandoori oven. You could see how they were pulling out the bread. And so very, very, very nice place. And it really was a good break from kind of being in the chaos of India. So it was probably good that the one night, we limited the stay to one night in that one place and just decided, let's stay at the Marriott for a couple nights. So here are just some images from this particular restaurant. It's outside our hotel again. And here's a video just showing all of the foods. They had one restaurant which was basically had different food stations. So here's the lettuce, or I guess the salad station, and then you walked around this place. You can see the marble that seems to always be a part of any Indian architecture. All the different sauces that go with the different breads. Omelet, or station where they would cook these. They'd take like a flatbread and fill it with stuff and then fold it over. I think that was like maybe some chutney. I'm not sure. As you can see, very different environment compared to the previous several days, and compared to the several days that are going to follow. I have no idea what this was, but had really interesting flavor, and I liked it, so I thought I'd take a picture of it. So if one of my friends out there knows what that is, leave a message. Here's the sweet milk that I was talking about. And then Mercy and I decided we were going to take a tuk-tuk ride. And so we found this tuk-tuk, and it kind of spoke to us because it was all like decorated and adorned, and this was the one we wanted to go to. And so we found the driver and we started to get in. You can see I have my 4X Indian shirt on right here. You will also notice it's not buttoned for obvious reasons. And so this is the tuk-tuk that we decided to take a ride into town, because we decided to go see the mall, and we thought, well, it's a short drive, so a tuk-tuk would be good to go see actually, I take that back. It wasn't the mall. We took the tuk-tuk to go to a temple, which was just beyond the mall. So we decided to take this one. Very cool inside. And we agreed on a price. And I think we have... so we started talking to this guy, and all of a sudden this other guy gets in, and they pull a little ahead with us, and all of a sudden we stop. It was like as soon as we got beyond the front of the front gate of the hotel where these tuk-tuk drivers were, they pulled ahead a little bit, pulled aside and stopped, and then said, "Oh, you need to go with my brother." So right there, that's making us uncomfortable. Well, come to find out, they were not happy with the price that we agreed upon, and so he wanted me to go with his brother, and I said no. I said, just let us out. We'll make other transportation, because I kind of felt at that point that I was being manipulated. Like, okay, what are we doing here? Why don't you want to jump? The feeling that you get, like, okay, I'm not going to be jumping from tuk-tuk to tuk-tuk, tuk-tuk to tuk-tuk. I'm not going to be jumping from, mode of transportation to mode, just because, and I don't understand what's going on. So we did find another driver, and here we are in his tuk-tuk, which is just, it's just not as stylish as the other tuk-tuk, but he did a good job to get us where we wanted to go. And so our next stop was the temple of Shiva. So Shiva is the destroyer in Hinduism, and out of Shiva comes Kali, so you kind of get that connection. And we were able to walk around the temple grounds, and we were ready to go into the temple, and then the temple closed. So the temple closed for, I don't know if it was like an afternoon siesta type thing, but they had 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon where the temple closed. And so the police officers started to get behind people, and they would start to say, I know it sounded like jello, like jalo, 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 which meant hurry, hurry, hurry. And Mercy, again, she just knows how to make people smile, because these police officers, these are police officers with rifles telling us, jalo, jalo, hurry, the courtyard is closing, we need to close the temple. And then Mercy starts helping them out. So Mercy starts saying to the people, jalo, jalo, hurry up, we're closing. And I got to tell you, when those police officers started to laugh and smile at her helping them, this little Filipina woman who was just joking around with them, and I thought to myself, that's something Mercy can get away with, and she does. She just knows how to connect with people. So that was kind of her new thing was she kept telling people if they were in our way, "Jalo, jalo," and she would smile and they'd understand, step aside. So anyway, but we found things like this. A couple different occasions we saw classrooms, and that kind of brought back memories of my elementary teaching years where we took field trips. So here's a class or a school group visiting the temple. So we did take some pictures of the grounds. And it wasn't long before, since that temple was closed, we said, well, let's just walk down the road and see what's down there. We saw some other temples. And we happened upon this temple, and this was a temple of Ganesh. So this is the elephant figure. And Ganesh is the avatar of God that removes boundaries. So in the same way in the Christian tradition, people will pray, please make this possible for me. In the Hindu tradition, they have the same prayer. It's just to an aspect of God. Uh, we pray to Ganesh, who is the remover of obstacles. So we went into this temple. We took off our shoes, went into this temple, and there is one avatar of Brahman, which is Ganesh. And then you can see where people are bringing offerings. Beautiful gold walls. You can see the swastika, which is in Hinduism means peace. And that was something, of course, that the Nazis took. And I mean, the word perverted comes to mind, and I think that that's accurate. They took this beautiful Hindu symbol and turned it into what we now think of as the Nazi swastika, which means anything but peace. So here we are, and I kind of like this because I think this is the spot where there were some bells that we could ring. So I had a chance to ring the bells before giving an offering, which just supports the work of that particular temple. Around the pillars are these red strings with shells attached to them. So there's something about tying things to things. I still have my, now this used to be red and orange, but I still have mine on my right wrist because I'm male. Mercy had to take hers off of her left wrist because she's female. That's yin and yang, masculine, feminine. And but they tie these shells on these red strings around the banisters. It's kind of a cool picture of a gentleman in front of me praying to Ganesh. People will bring fruits and vegetables. Sometimes people would bring breads and exchange things. And then outside you had these street vendors that here you could buy some baked goods, but you can see that you can also buy some some flowers, some garlands, and there's some of the red strings up there that you can purchase to bring into the temple. This is a picture I took just down a little alleyway between two little vendors that were selling these things on carts. I just thought it was a cool picture. Kind of same thing. It's like you see these little areas, and yes, there's trash around it, but then there's these cool carts and these cool little places. Then you have order here. So I really like this picture. One thing that is common is for kids to beg. So they will come up to your car window. In this case, we were in a tuk-tuk, so I could not roll up my window. There were a couple of different instances where I just kind of felt that it would be appropriate to roll down my window and talk to the kids, and they didn't understand me, but I could still talk to me, make them smile. So this, I'm assuming brother and sister, maybe sister and sister, I'm not sure, but came up, and I don't even know what they were selling. I don't know if those are pens or what, but I gave them 100 rupees and asked if I could take their picture, and they were very happy to oblige. So I got a couple good pictures of these kids. Some of them would come up to your car, to our driver's car, and start washing the windows without being asked. And the driver would say, "Get away, get away, get away." And here we are going back to the hotel. This is Lahan. He was extremely helpful, so he kind of became our point person when we came down to the lobby. He was the one that came and said hello and can I help you and what do you need next, things like that. So Lacan and I are continuing to talk on what is the platform? Is it well, it's the one that everybody WhatsApp. WhatsApp, that's what it is. So we're continuing to kind of dialogue a little bit on WhatsApp because he's interested in learning English. He explained to us the best that he could in English. He explained to us that he is there to try to get a promotion, but his lack of English skills have been keeping him from getting a promotion. And so, of course, me being the teacher and who I am, that just kind of touched my heart, and I thought I would make the offer. So I think he's going to take me up on the offer, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if maybe get him a subscription to Babbel, one of these language learning services, or maybe he and I connect at a certain time on WhatsApp and just work on English speaking. But I always get excited when I meet somebody, and it can be more than just just this brief interaction. There's something really I don't know, there's something that I really value in those experiences. So a lot of the drivers had little, avatars of their gods. This particular avatar, I think this is Humanan. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's a human being, kind of with the face of a monkey. And this is the avatar of God that has to do with adventure and in heroism, heroic quests, I guess you might say. And you do see this god around India frequently. All right, I got to check my battery right here. I got a few minutes left, so we'll keep going just a couple more slides because I don't want to make these too long, but I want to get them done too. So now we have more pictures from the. This is our place after Jaipur. So we found this place, and I can't think of the name. I'll get it somewhere in one of these videos. This was a really cool hotel. It was owned by a family. It was this large area. Same kind of deal. You went through this chaos, and all of a sudden you go down these alleys, and they're dark. And normally you would be concerned if you were in the States going down an alley like this. I didn't feel that way in India. Maybe that was because of my own ignorance and being in a new place. I'm not sure. But this place was really cool. So here are just some pictures out of our room. And it was just this big palace area. So we have lots of pictures of Mercy. Here's the courtyard. Every place has a courtyard. This one was really beautiful, really, really unique. So they had a garden down there with some Buddha statues. They had a pool. It was not a little bit too cool to use the pool, but they had this pool available. Lots of pictures of, I believe this is Krishna with the cow. I'm just going to kind of go through these quickly. If you're Facebook friends with me, I have a picture album, I believe, or I have a post that has all pictures from this place. Here's where we would eat our meals. Here's a statue of Ganesh, which is now the screen on my phone, because I think I really like Ganesh. I just think it's a good it's a good avatar of God. It's a good reminder that God is the remover of barriers. So I've kind of gotten away from Kali. Well, I've not gotten away from Kali, but I've kind of leaned into Ganesh a little bit more, which I think is a more positive attribute of God, or attribute of the way the universe works, if you want to look at it that way. All of these paintings and these little nooks and crannies that you find. Here is the breakfast buffet. So this is the room where breakfast took place, a little more formal gathering. They did have a bar. There is not a lot of alcohol in India. You can find it in places like this, like hotels that might cater to, to British travelers or American travelers, or and I would actually say that it was more of your individuals of European descent who I typically saw drinking. But for Mercy and I, we hardly drank anything, and a lot of that I think was simply had to do with, I mean, number one, making sure to drink water, but also, the food had such good flavor, that we really wanted to experience the food, and sometimes alcohol, I think, takes away from the food experience. So here is the stairwell or the staircase, a little balcony area. Yeah, so this is in Jaipur. This is one place where I think if I visited India again, I think this is where I would stay. All right. So let's just get through these pictures. Then I think we're gonna say that this video is done. So we will stop at our pictures of this hotel, this palace that we stayed at. And then what I would say is, if you want to know the name of the palace, if you're ever interested in visiting here, I can leave in the comments, if somebody wants me to, I can leave in the comments the name of the place, as well as I could even put the contact information or a link to the booking on booking.com if you're interested in this. But this was a really, really nice place. I felt like it had the culture of India. I felt like it was kind of realistic to where we were. It wasn't Americanized or Europeanized. I think I just made up another word there. Like the Marriott hotel we stayed at, but it was just really beautiful grounds. I really liked this room with the red ceilings and the blue glass. This was a very cool room that overlooked the courtyard. Not even sure what this video is, but I'll let it play a minute here. Okay, so this is a video heading into the lobby area. You can see some other travelers checking in. This might be the video where I go outside the gate, actually, and take a picture of the name of the place. I apologize that I have trouble with names. And some of them are just different, and so it took a while for it to click. So there is the concierge or the manager of the hotel. Here's the check-in lobby where we first arrived. And then here's a little courtyard that leads to the street. So there's another statue of Ganesh. There's another statue to the right of Ganesh. To the right, another statue of Ganesh. There's an elephant. You can see all the marigold petals. There's the pool. And then here's the gate that we came through. It was like a gold gate. right, so I guess I don't go outside, but continue here. I like that picture. That's a good one. All right. Looks like the next stop are more pictures of the monkey temple. So that'll be good. So the next video that I'll make will be starting with additional pictures of the monkey temple, starting with this lady who wanted to give Mercy and I a blessing. So, all right, namaste. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Otherwise, yeah, I hope you're enjoying these. So, namaste, and we'll see you in the next video.